All right, everybody, welcome to today's video. We're gonna break down the competition day at a couple different shows, and I'm gonna talk about prejudging, we're gonna talk about finals, we're gonna talk about posing, we're talk about conditioning, the standards for the NPC Fit Model division, the NPC Bikini division, and you're gonna see why this is a great video to do that at the NPC Northern California show, where Lawna Dunbar, who is my client, a two-time qualified bikini Olympian, including she's qualified right now. We already started prep for the Olympia. And she is one of the best, if not the best posing coach right now in the NPC or IFBB. I will put her information below if you need help with your posing and presentation, whether it's a single session or you're a new competitor and you need to understand everything from the basics. Please reach out to Lawna. She's doing wonderful things, and I'm gonna prove it in this video. So let's just jump right into this video where we're going into prejudging. What is prejudging? Prejudging is the morning portion of a show where you are judged against everybody in your class. What is a class? A class is simply when you sign up for a show, there are different categories. This is the Fit Model category, and this is the novice division, meaning they've never won an overall before. True novice is first-time competitor. Open is the open for anybody that's trying to qualify to go to nationals. Masters is 35 and up, and they have different age categories for that, like 35, 40, 50, and etc. So what is prejudging doing? The head judge of this show is Sandy Williamson. She is the premier female judge in the sport of the IFBB and NPC. She is the chair for the entire sport. She helps define the standards. She judges the Bikini Olympia, most, if not all, of the national shows. She's a promoter herself, and she's actually promoting this show and the next national show. So I wanted to get some competitors in front of her to decide, should we go to nationals? So the young lady right of center, right next to the X, that is Brittany Torell. She was moved to center. What does that mean? Well, a lot of times judges are going to put the competitors that they favor more closer to the center of the stage to compare them to the other top competitors. Now at this show, you see that there's an X on the stage. That is the dead center of the stage. So Brittany is splitting center. That's what we call that when there's an even number. 6 girls splitting center. It doesn't matter if you're left or right. In that position, you're usually number 1 or number 2. Doesn't matter what side. They don't do it like that. They just put the girls side by side. The next girls will be 3 and 4, 5 and 6, 7 and 8, etc. Typically. However, you never know until finals. They've rejudged. They've made mistakes in the past. So I'm not telling you that if you're in the middle, you won. Trust me, you never want to make that assumption. However, if there's like a 5 or a 7 or a 3 person class and there's someone on the X, that's usually the winner, but not always. So just want you guys to understand that generally at NPC and IFBB shows, the girls that are closer to the center in their group are placing higher than the girls on the outside. Yeah, so I'm trying to remember the order of events here. So that was Brittany Torell in her novice. I think this is Brittany in her open. It could be switched. This young lady is quite a bit taller, so that makes me think this is novice. And the reason I say that is they usually group novice classes in larger groups, like an A and a B, whereas open classes will have like 4 groups, A, B, C, and D. However, these competitors look very, very good. I'm trying to remember. So either way, the whole idea here is that she just went out for one class. She went backstage. The expediters, or the people that organize backstage, said, everybody that's in the open class, you stay right here. They go right back out on stage. Now, you only do your routine once in the morning, and that is the first time you go out with the first class, you'll do your routine. If you come back out for another class, you will not do your routine again, okay? You just do it once. So what did we just see there? Remember what I said. When they like somebody, they move them closer to center. There's 5 girls in this class, and who is standing on the X? Brittany Torell. Now, Brittany, who does her posing? Lawna. Look at her stance. You see how her feet are wider apart, giving her more of an X frame? You'll notice some of the other competitors are standing more upright. Brittany is someone who did a week before, 2 weeks before this show, we did the Legion, and she did bikini. And she said, Coach, what do you feel about me switching? And I said, well, it's going to come down to getting your suit done, and it's also going to come down to your posing. She got the posing because she got with Lawna right away. The suits are less than $100. So this new division, the requirements are, you don't want to be as muscular or as conditioned as the bikini division, which has gotten to be, next level as far as muscularity and conditioning. You also don't have to spend $500 to $1,000 on a suit. So I think this is a really good idea for the sport. And if you look back at the bikini division about 10 years ago, this was exactly the standard, including the posing. So I don't necessarily think of it as a new division. I think of this as a kind of they're pulling back from bikini. Bikini has gotten a little bit out of hand when it comes to the muscularity and the conditioning. And to a degree, some of the drugs that are being used in that division, you know, you're starting to see faces change and voices change. And I think women wanted a division where they could, you know, just be an entry-level competitor and jump in. The bikini division was starting to not be that. So at finals, you don't get compared again unless you win. So at finals, everybody gets their awards. Brittany ended up in first place in this class. So what does that mean? Well, when you win your class, you're gonna compare an overall against any other class winners for an overall title. So you will get judged again at finals only if you win a class. So, you know, oftentimes when I'm talking to my competitors after prejudging, we plan to be in an overall, right? We have to make sure that our physique is ready to be judged live. They do not decide that at the earlier portion of the show. They're only comparing you against the competitors in your class. When you win, you go back out for another overall. It's a whole new show, right? So you got to be prepared. And this, as a coach, when we're talking about setting up a peaking plan, you know, I am making sure that my athletes have a plan for the whole day of the show. I'm obviously getting on the phone with them, FaceTiming, whatever they need. We also had Lawna there in person. So the great thing with Lawna is she was sending me these videos. That's why they're all vertical. Lawna and I were on the phone all morning during this show. And so what I would say is like, okay, what did you see? Does somebody need to be harder? Does somebody need to be, you know, tighter? What can we do to come back better for finals? And so, you know, we would make like what I call micro adjustments. Sometimes I have people go to the gym. Sometimes I have people have a big sodium meal. Sometimes I have people go back to their room and take a nap. It just depends on the situation and the athlete. So the cool thing here was this was our first fit model competition, and it was the right move. Brittany won her class. She actually won novice and open, which, you know, I think she had placed second in bikini the couple weeks before. So we definitely made the right move. And I had a couple really spectacular bikini competitors in this show. So I had told Brittany, listen, I don't think you're going to be able to beat Kristy. I don't think you're going to be able to beat Kayla, but you might win the whole show if you switch to fit model. So here we go with I believe this is the novice overall. So the young lady on the left won novice. Now look at the front pose. Did you see how she was kind of standing up and down versus Brittany, who had a more spread apart, balanced front look instead of being linear? Think of this division as creating shape. They want to see an hourglass physique. And if your pose is too narrow, you look up and down. So spreading the feet a little bit and just a small stagger, allowing you to twist that hip, creates that hourglass look. So here's Brittany, you know, the head judge is having them walk, but look at the front pose. Where does your eye go? One lady looks up and down, one lady has more hourglass. This is Lawna's job. Lawna is spectacular. And, you know, it's funny because I've been, you know, I had my first bikini pro in 2015, 10 years ago. And so this division is basically that. I've actually taken Taylor Jordan, who was my first bikini pro, and compared her to my first fit model pro, Daniela. It's eerie how similar they are, from posing to structure to look. So yeah, they basically just turned back the clock on what was the bikini division back to what it used to be. So here she is winning the novice overall title. So congratulations, Brittany, you look spectacular. She won like a wolf pack bag, but really what we wanted to see what was going to happen in the open. Get back to it. Okay, so now we are in for the overall for the open. Now I believe this is actually Lexi's client. So if you guys are familiar with Lexi, who is one of the Pro Physique coaches, probably, you know, she's doing great things. She's on the podcast with me. Yeah, so we actually had two competitors competing against each other in the overall. So the nice thing about the overall for this show is because this is Sandy Williamson's promotion, she also promotes the NPC Junior Nationals, which is 2 weeks away. So if you win an overall here, you get a paid entry. I believe it's $300 to enter. So that's a considerable, you know, sum of money. And it's also an indicator that you should be there. So here's Brittany. So lo and behold, 2 weeks ago, bikini, second place. I said, hey, I think we can be better in this new category. And what happens? That's right. she wins her class. And then she wins the overall. So now she's got a paid entry to head to Chattanooga. I was just in Charleston. Chattanooga, Tennessee, which is about an hour outside of Nashville, which is just a wonderful city. I think this will be my 4th year going back there. Had a lot of success there, and it's just a fun, great city. So now they're going to interview her. But, you know, when we're talking about show day stuff, this is the stuff you really love. I mean, only one competitor in each division gets to be the last person standing. You know, she gets a gift card, she gets a backpack. I think she got 2 backpacks, 2 tiaras, and she got a paid entry. And, you know, I don't know what the judges were saying to her right there, but obviously, you know, she was having a blast. And then she got an interview with the promoter. So now we're going to switch gears and go to the bikini division. So the young lady with the dark hair and the blue suit, that is Kristy. That is my client. I mean, wow. Like, she is going to be a bikini pro. She has such a great physique. Now, at this competition, she competed in the over 35 and the open. So I believe this was the over 35s. So you see the X, you see that she's on it, and then they face the back. And then if they face the front and you stay on the X, you know you're doing something good, right? Remember what I told you, at most of these competitions, the closer you are towards the center, the better off your placing is going to be. So, yeah, so as a coach, you're just kind of watching to see what they're looking at. Lawna was telling me that Kristy just looked fantastic. Now, here's bad news. They move her out. Okay, so now what? Well, you want to get moved back to the middle. You want to keep posing, keep your poise, make sure you focus on your angles. They're continuing to turn them, and they're still comparing them. So, you know, if you look at this panel, the 2 center girls would be 1, 2. Kristy's in the 3 or 4 position. So it's not ideal because our goal was to focus on coming here to win this show. I actually felt like the overall title might come down to my 2 clients, Kristy and Kayla, who you'll see in a second here. However, Kristy got moved out of middle. So, you know, we knew something was wrong. I had a hunch I knew what it was. Kristy actually has huge glutes, and they're a little bit out of proportion with the rest of her physique. So we need to bring her glutes down a little bit or bring her physique up a little bit to match, but she's got such great muscularity and structure. Now, this is Melanie, the blonde in the teal suit. Melanie has done a couple shows this year. You will not ever meet someone who is more fun to be around at a competition. So with Melanie, if you look there, you don't see the hard lines on her tie-ins. So we are probably a few pounds away from being dialed in. However, this was our chance to get in front of Sandy to get feedback before we go to a Masters National show, which we are doing. So we will be at NPC Universe a few weeks after this. And she was in the middle. She was 1 or 2 here. So yeah, Melanie does not have a naturally like super hourglass physique, wide shoulder. She has a little bit, you know, narrow clavicles, but her conditioning and her posing really put her in that position to win. This is on the left in the dark blue suit with the beautiful black hair. That is Kayla Hirsch. This is our 3rd show of the year. And the goal here was to get in front of Sandy and decide how we should proceed with the national shows. There was only 2 girls in her class, and the other girl looked fantastic. However, you know, as a coach, you know, I looked close and I thought, okay, I felt like Kayla had a little more conditioning, a little more muscle, and just had a little overall more eye appeal. Like, I call it the naked eye test. When you're at a show, your eyes drawn, her skin looks great, like she's stunning. The other young lady looked fantastic. So I wasn't super confident, but I was confident, put it that way, that she was going to win her class. But you don't know. You don't know until finals. So what did I tell her? Listen, let's expect to win. You know, be a good sport if we don't, but let's prepare for the overall. Because remember, if you win your class, you come back for an overall at finals. And so this is us moving into awards for the evening. And I was pretty confident that Kristy was going to be 3rd here because I felt like they were looking at her for the win. And then when they moved her out to 3, 4, I felt, okay, she's probably going to be in that 3 position. But again, she's someone that you become a fan of your athletes. Like you see their physiques and you just go, man, I'm such a fan of hers. And we had a phone call after this and we already have our game plan for our next show. I think we have about 8 weeks. to bring in a little bit more conditioning in the glutes and kind of create a little bit more balance. But wow, she's just got the wow factor. It's hard to describe unless you've been to a show. You know, that like when you see everyone on stage, your eye just goes to someone. She's that person. So I'm pretty confident we're going to have a great season. You know, this is only our second show. And, you know, I was able to like feed her into the show and do some great things. So we'll talk a little bit about peaking. How do you peak for stage? Let's talk a little bit about that. So the way I prefer to peak my athletes, I call it a linear load. And I call it that because I'm increasing carbohydrates in a linear fashion, right? I'm usually adding 15 a day, 25 a day, 50 a day, depending on, you know, the size and muscularity of the athletes. Now, I didn't post a lot of individual routines, but this is Kayla Hirsch and her individual posing routine. Lawna is, like I said, the premier posing coach right now for the NPC IFBB Fit Model and Bikini divisions. So she's probably going to post this on her Instagram for her polished presentations, but just, you know, look at her hair. Wow. Like her posing is so flawless. She takes her time, you know, her transitions are quick, but she gets into her pose and holds 1, 2, 3, and lots of great eye contact. Makeup is beautiful. Look at her smile. Everything was just flawless. So then they simply kept everybody on stage for awards, and second place was the young lady in the purple. So you can relax, take a deep breath. Y'all don't know anxiety unless you've been around me at a show. I get so anxious because it's like that feeling of like everything is hinging on this next word. First, second, overall, not overall, pro card, no pro card, you know, Olympia qualification, no Olympia qualification. It's just the whole thing can change in a second. So it's really important that you're taking care of all the details so that when they make that decision, you know it's going to be you. And, you know, Kayla is one of these athletes that I've worked with for 3 years now. She eats a ton of food. She trains like a beast. We give the proper amount of time to prep. She's a lifetime natural athlete, and she just has really taken care of herself. So when you win your class, even if there's only 2, you go to the overall. And at this show, they had 6 girls in the overall. Now, this overall is important. Why? Because it's going to have a paid entry to junior nationals. Again, I think it's $300. All of these athletes are probably going to go to national shows this year and turn pro. They all look fantastic. But the same thing holds true in an overall. You want to be moved to the middle. So the first thing they do is they move this young lady to the 3 or 4 position. So now I'm like, oh man, they're not moving Kayla in. Okay, now we're looking at problems. They got that young lady in the center. And then you just think, okay, what are they going to do with Kayla? Oh, they're moving her. Oh, they're moving her right to the middle. That to me, when they don't swap, when they go, you come in between so-and-so and so-and-so, very excited. Even though Kayla almost fell over there, very excited. So, you know, here's where they are comparing in the back pose. You know, who's got the criteria beat. If you just look at the depth of Kayla's glutes, if you just look at the way her skin is tight, if you just look at how her skin kind of shines, she has the wow factor. Let's talk about peaking. The day before the show, I felt she was a little flat. I had her eat a burger and fries. Now it's a very, I give the specifics. It's not like a crazy hamburger, but a burger and fries. And the day of the show, she had, I think, 200 something carbs and a gallon and a half of water and 70 fat, because they weren't on stage until 5 p.m. So when you're on stage for an evening show and you are this lean, you've got to eat to look your best. So Kayla was eating, you know, over 300 carbs the day before the show, over 200 carbs the day of the show, well over a gallon of water on show day. Why? Because when you're lean, you don't need to cut, you don't need to take diuretics, you don't need to cut water or cut sodium or carbohydrates. Carbohydrates put volume to your muscles. If you cut carbs and cut sodium and take diuretics, you're gonna look worse. Just be aware. And if you guys have any questions or you ever want to talk to me, I'll put a link below. Set up a consult. It's no cost. I love this stuff. I love the science. I love the competition. And so, you know, we're just waiting here for the announcement. And really, with Sandy,
goes to 89, Kayla Hirsch.
that high-pitched scream you heard was Lawna Dunbar. So Lawna is officially the best posing coach at this show. She had the bikini overall and the Fit Model overall. And so that's a first for me as well. I've never had, well, it's a new division, so it's not been really possible for me in the past, but at the same show, I had the bikini overall, the Fit Model overall, and the day was not done yet. So we're gonna highlight one other athlete, but congrats to Kayla. We are also going to NPC Junior Nationals in Chattanooga, Tennessee in a few days' time. Here's more footage of Kayla. And I think we actually get some more, she got an interview. So she was literally the last competitor on stage. I think Lawna tried to get up and take some pictures with her, but they literally shut the lights off. But we did get feedback from Sandy. So again, if you have the opportunity to compete at a show with Sandy, go. She stays and talks to every competitor. She makes great eye contact. She is someone that really puts so much passion into this sport, and she loves telling you how to get better with respect. You're gonna really feel good after you talk to Sandy, okay? Okay, so we also had another overall this weekend. So yeah, this was, as a coach, every now and then you strike a little gold. I've had some days where I've had like 2 pro wins, 2 Olympia qualifications on the same day. I've had, 4 or 5 pro cards on the same day. This was a cool one. I had 3 overalls on the same day, the same weekend. And yeah, this is the DC Pro Natural. And this is Andria winning the Fit Model overall at this show. And again, look at the stance. See how we're, Lawna and I worked on her pose. I still think she's a little too sideways here. We'll work on it. We're going to focus on doing a national show here in the near future. Amazing setup. That's a Gary Udit show in the DC area. And yeah, I think it's in Alexandria. So yeah, overall, congrats to you, Andria, as well. But really now you're starting to see the criteria for the Fit Model division come to fruition, as well as the bikini division. And, it's been a career that has really come full circle now with this new category. I'm just really excited about it. I think I've had like 5 or 6 overalls this year. I've had a pro card already. So we'll see where it goes. And, we got some really good bikini competitors hitting the stage. So if you guys want a free consult, I'm going to put a link below. Yeah, we got a great team of coaches here, and I love coaching competitors. So if you're interested in competing, let me know. And if you want to know more about this sport, comment below. Like, what do you want to know? What do you have questions about? I'm here to help. All right, talk to you soon.